This is the Qtv Nightly News, which is also on Q Radio 103.3 FM, and I am Jacqueline Coley. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. Rahim Malik Low of Banjul, accompanied by international donor partners on Friday, embarked on a site visit to key borehole projects in the West Coast region as part of activities marking the launch of her tripartite projects initiative. GK Partners, the implementing agency of the Migration and Sustainable Development in the Gambia project, held a press briefing on Saturday to provide updates on implementation of the Diaspora Development Fund, a program designed to support Gambians living abroad in contributing to national development. Speaking at the Migration and Sustainable Development Gambia Phase 4 institutionalization briefing on Saturday, Professor Jibril Fall emphasized that the right to vote and be represented is a fundamental aspect of citizenship that should not be linked to a citizen's economic contribution. West African leaders, including from the Gambia Development Partners and private investors, have wrapped up a major summit in Accra, Ghana, aimed at transforming the region's rice sector and reducing its dependence on costly imports. And in international news, over the past week, Senegal has been honoring the first of its former presidents to reach the age of 100. The celebrations, which included messages from former and current head of states marking the centenary of Abdoulaye Wade, culminated in grand national events on the 4th and 5th of June. Those were the headlines. Coming up next is the news in detail. Mayor Rahim Malik Low of Banjul, accompanied by international donor partners on Friday, embarked on a site visit to key borehole projects in the West Coast region as part of activities marking the launch of her tripartite projects initiative. The visit sought to assess the impact of borehole interventions supporting women's garden and improving livelihoods through sustainable access to water. Usman Jata joined the delegation and he now reports.
It was a journey of impact and appreciation as Mayor Rahim Malik Low and her delegation travelled across communities in the West Coast region to inspect borehole projects transforming the lives of women gardeners. The first stop was the Banjulinding Women's Garden, where jubilant women welcomed the mayor and her partners with songs and dances after benefiting from 4 boreholes supporting their 19-hectare garden. Just 3 years ago, the women say the garden suffered severe water shortages, making farming nearly impossible. Today, access to reliable water is helping them grow vegetables all year round, strengthening food security and household incomes. Okra farming, among other vegetables, is now helping women generate earnings while supporting their families and children's education. Speaking on behalf of the gardeners Vice President Ajayama Baji expressed gratitude to Mayor Low and her partners for restoring hope to the community.
Sangi sabakoma.
3 years ago, if you came here, you will hardly recognize this place as a garden. It was like a football field and cows used to destroy the land. Mayor Rahim Malik Low brought about this transformation. Today, we farm in both rainy and dry seasons, pay our children's school fee and support our families through this garden.
Mayor Rahim Malik Low and her local and international partners are pursuing an ambitious initiative to construct more than 100 boreholes nationwide to empower women and strengthen community livelihoods. The initiative is supported through partnerships involving institutions and donors from the UAE, Senegal, Morocco, and the United States and local stakeholders. Former Lord Mayor of Leeds, Mayor Abigail Marshall Katong, Anjali Patriv Mahadevia expressed delight at the life-changing impact of the borehole projects.
To know that this can actually grow 12 months of the year is simply amazing, and all down thanks to this beautiful borehole that we have here. I have sponsored some already, and I would love to use this opportunity to reach out to a lot of organizations, philanthropists, governments, come to the Gambia and see what they're doing here.
I mean, the economic impacts of this one piece of infrastructure is profound, not just in supporting women, women's safety, women's education, but also in terms of agriculture and supporting families. So our goal is to create 100 of these boreholes across communities in Gambia, and we invite you to join us and be involved in this mission.
Despite progress, challenges remain. The women are appealing for support to build a perimeter wall to protect their farms from roaming animals.
The mayor's project has helped us greatly, but we still face challenges with fencing because we are in the Greater Banjul area. Cows often enter and destroy crops. The boreholes are functioning well and water is available, but without a strong perimeter wall, our gardens remain vulnerable. If we have a proper perimeter wall, it will help us a lot. Animals regularly destroy our crops.
Ward Councillor Abi Bangura of Banjulinding played a key role in facilitating the project for the women through collaboration with Mayor Lowe.
I am very happy today to witness this transformation. During the mayor's first visit, many women were unsure whether the initiative will succeed. But today, the results are visible.
From Banjulinding, the delegation continued to Basori village in Kombo East to monitor another borehole intervention supporting women gardeners. For Aminata Jata and Nyima Sajo, access to water has transformed farming, reduced hardship and improved productivity. Still, they say fencing remains a major priority.
We are very grateful. 4 tanks of 8,000 liters have been installed, making our work much easier. Water availability means crops can grow well. We are very happy because in the past we struggled to water crops, but that is now a thing of the past. Our biggest challenge is fencing. If the garden is fenced, animals will stop destroying our crops.
Speaking at the end of the site visit, Mayor Rahim Malik Lowe thanked international and local partners for supporting what she described as a people-centered initiative aimed at empowering women and strengthening food production.
I think each and every one of the donors deserve a big thank you, especially the city of Dubai under his leadership, Mohammed Al Maktoum. I am so grateful. The African women are grateful, Gambian women are grateful, and now we are looking to scale up. They have tried their best.
From restoring abandoned farmlands to empowering women, these borehole projects are steadily rewriting stories of struggle into stories of resilience. But as communities celebrate access to water, calls for fencing support now remain the next chapter in securing these gains. Osman Jata, QTV News.
GK Partners, the implementing agency of the Migration and Sustainable Development in the Gambia project, held a press briefing on Saturday to provide updates on the implementation of the Diaspora Development Fund, a program designed to support Gambians living abroad in contributing to national development. Yafatu Gay tells us more.
The briefing highlighted the progress made under the fund, which is helping members of the Gambian diaspora finance and implement development projects across the country. The program has approved support for 11 diaspora fellows and 15 development projects for 2026 to create sustainable social and economic impacts in communities. Professor Jibril Fall, Program Director for GK Partners, and MSDG, and Claire Demba, Program Associate at GK Partners, outlined the key objectives of the Diaspora Development Fund and its role in supporting community-driven initiatives.
What we've done here, there's been now 7-8 years of practical action And there are many countries that have now looked at it and said, we're interested, and we're having discussions of taking it to other countries. Elements of it, like the Diaspora Development Fund, we would be piloting that in Senegal.
For effective delivery of the MSDG project, in 2019, GK Partners was registered in the Gambia in the name of GK Partners Global Limited. It is also registered with the Gambia Revenue Authority and Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation.
The program also heard from previous beneficiaries of the Diaspora Development Fund who shared the impact the initiative has had on their development agendas. Among them was Janke Njai, founder of Jarga.
The support has been deep and it's followed us till this day. So I am forever grateful, not only for the DDF Fund, but for the entire team and the support, Claire, everyone. It's been a great journey, and I believe that this is not the end, this is only the beginning.
The briefing also introduced the new fellows selected under the Diaspora Development Fund for 2026. Among them are Bintu Ann, founder of Queen Farms, and Ibrahima Drame.
We are actually contributing only 6% of what we are eating in this country, and that's really scary. So this is why I'm into agriculture.
Migration in not only in Gambia but in general in sub-Saharan Africa, we have a problem on this, and it's going to be very difficult to stop it. But what we can do to tell people to know this is the risky, and this is what and what, when you go through like this is what we can face.
Established in January 2017, the Migration and Sustainable Development in the Gambia project is an innovative diaspora-led technical assistance and cooperation program. In August 2023, the project was recognized by the International Organization for Migration (IOM) as a global example of innovation and good practice, and was included in its repository of practice. In May 2024, the Global Economic Forum published a joint IOM-GKP blog describing the project as a roadmap for strengthening diaspora engagement. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yafa Tugay.
Speaking at the Migration and Sustainable Development Gambia Phase 4 institutionalization briefing on Saturday, Professor Jibril Fall emphasized that the right to vote and be represented is a fundamental aspect of citizenship that should not be linked to a citizen's economic contribution. Fall expressed disappointment that the diaspora Gambians will once again be excluded from voting in the forthcoming elections despite long-standing efforts to advance their electoral rights. Here is an excerpt by Julian Jai.
Strictly speaking, there shouldn't be a connection between the financial or development contribution that citizens make to whether they have the right to vote or be represented, because that's fundamental. A citizen of the Gambia may be born in misfortune and live their life in misfortune and may never be able to significantly contribute to development. Yet no one would think of taking away their right either to vote or to be represented. So the diaspora voting thing is just a fundamental matter of a citizenship right, and unfortunately the coming elections we will not be able to vote. Now, in terms of Gambians in the diaspora and their engagement in other policies, there are very many things where there's been opened up. If you just look at the data of the amount of diaspora remittances that's coming and diaspora investment, you know that there are good vehicles where it's going to. So people now feel safe that they can bring their resources from abroad and invest it here, and it is not in peril. And of course, there are many other advances, but on the narrow issue of diaspora voting, you know, the fact speaks for itself. You see, the diaspora don't even need the permission of the government. All of this stuff they didn't need the permission of the government. Even when we had a government that was actively opposed to them and terrorizing them, they still invested and did their stuff. But government recognizes and should do that there are shortcomings in its engagement. So even its targets of increasing diaspora investment and other forms of diaspora engagement, there are things that are being done at technical level. The policies are in place. So it's a matter of the practicalities and of implementing them. I also think that certainly for us at the MSDG project, we don't wait for a government department to do it. The bits that we can do, we do. And I think there's still a lot of room for the diaspora organization, civil society organization, now private business, to be involved in that. Take one sector, the real estate market in the Gambia, which is expanding. You know, this amount of resources they spend in engaging with the diaspora, and it's showing results for them. So, and that is bringing so much money that you wonder even whether a government institution would be as successful. So it doesn't need to be government, but government, I think, recognizes that there are limitations in their current levels of engagement. Apart from remittances, for 2024, not 2025, which was about $700 million, in that year, because for diaspora direct investment, it was another $345 million. This is in addition. So every year, with no major sort of worries about accuracy at all, we can safely say that every year the diaspora bring in well over $1 billion, either in remittances or diaspora investment.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more national and international news stories. Do stay tuned. West African leaders, development partners and private investors have wrapped up a major summit in Accra, Ghana, aimed at transforming the region's rice sector and reducing its dependence on costly imports. The two-day West Africa Rice Investment Roundtable brought together representatives from all 15 ECOWAS member states, including the Gambia, alongside the World Bank Group, African Development Bank, and leading agribusiness stakeholders. Alde Darami tells us more.
To conclude, Excellency, allow me to say a word or two about a problem that I always fear as a diplomat, and that is the war or the conflict over the jollof rice. Excellencies, I think just a minute of history. I'm talking on behalf, before a professor, a university professor, and I stand to be guided. But I think we all recall kingdoms in the region. We remember the Asante Kingdom, we remember the Yoruba kingdoms, we remember the Mandi, the Ghana. If you go further north, you have the Jollof Kingdom, then you have the Kayor Kingdom, you have the Badibus, the Rips, and others. Now, I come from the Gambia. And I consider myself a Senegambian. And in our region, there is a place called Jollof, a kingdom. And the food there is called Chebujen. A version of it is Benachin. But then the foreigners could not pronounce this, so they call it jollof rice. Now, it has traveled over to the point that it has caused conflict in the region. And I hope ECOWAS, we should work hard to resolve this conflict. I thank you.
That was Dr. Omar Aliyu Toure, President of the ECOWAS Commission, concluding his remarks on a light note, which nonetheless resonated with the West African audience. But beyond the humour, the summit focused on a serious challenge confronting the region. The objective was clear: to mobilise investment, strengthen partnerships, and accelerate the implementation of national rice development plans as the region pursues rice self-sufficiency by the year 2035. Rice is, and probably always has been, West Africa's staple food, accounting for about 40% of cereal consumption. Yet, demand continues to outpace local production, leaving ECOWAS countries heavily reliant on imports. Today, regional self-sufficiency stands at just 61%, forcing member states to import an estimated 12 million metric tons of rice annually. Addressing the delegates, Dr. Toure emphasized the urgency of turning plans into concrete actions.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our ambition is clear. to build competitive, inclusive, and sustainable agri-food systems that strengthen food sovereignty, create jobs, and drives shared prosperity, while achieving regional rice self-sufficiency by 2035.
The roundtable focused on practical investment opportunities across the entire rice value chain, including irrigation, seed systems, mechanization, milling, storage, transport, and trade. Delegates also reviewed investment-ready projects contained in national rice investment action plans developed by all 15 ECOWAS member states. The meeting further strengthened commitments among governments, regional institutions, development partners, and the private sector to coordinate efforts through mechanisms such as the ECOWAS Rice Observatory and a proposed regional rice investment compact. And while the ambition is regional rice self-sufficiency by 2035, delegates acknowledge that achieving that goal will require significant investment and sustained political commitment. Dr. Toure also highlighted the vulnerabilities created by dependence on imported rice and the need to build a stronger and more resilient regional food system.
This accounts for the fact that although regional production increased by 44% between 2008 and 2024, it still falls short of demand. Currently, local production meets only about 60% of regional needs, leaving West Africa heavily dependent on imports.
The summit concluded with tangible results. Organizers announced that more than $1.5 billion in commitments and expressions of interest had been mobilized from development finance institutions, donors, finance institutions, and private sector investors. Participants say the momentum generated in Accra marks an important step from planning to implementation, with the ultimate goal of creating jobs, strengthening food security, and building a more competitive and resilient rice economy across West Africa. For Qtv News, I am Ade Darame.
A delegation from the National People's Party, currently on a study visit in Beijing, China, visited the International Department of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China on Thursday. This was to gain first-hand knowledge of the party's structure, operations, and international engagement. Lolian Kamara is with the delegation and she filed this report.
The International Department of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, commonly known as the International Department, is the CPC's main institution for managing relations with foreign political parties and organizations worldwide. Established in 1951, the department operates directly under the CPC Central Committee and plays a critical role in fostering global political dialogue and cooperation. Over the years, the CPC has established contacts and exchanges with more than 400 political parties and organizations in over 140 countries. Many of these are ruling parties or parties actively participating in national governments. Through these engagements, the CPC has developed an extensive network of party-to-party relations characterized by extensive cooperation, mutual learning, and experience sharing. During the visit, the Executive Secretary of the National People's Party, Sidi Sirif Sise, praised the CPC's role in strengthening political relations and promoting international cooperation among political parties. He emphasized the importance of continued collaboration between China and the Gambia, particularly in areas aimed at empowering young people and women. He also reaffirmed the Gambia's commitment to the One China policy, describing it as a cornerstone of bilateral relationship between the two countries. In her welcoming remarks, the Deputy Director of the International Department expressed her delight in receiving the Gambian delegation. She acknowledged the positive relations between the two countries and their respective political parties. She assured the delegation of the CPC's continued support in strengthening political mutual trust, promoting experience sharing, and enhancing cooperation between the youth and women's wings of both parties.
The visit provided an opportunity for the Gambian delegation to gain a deeper understanding of the CPC's organizational structure, governance approach, and international engagement. It also reinforced the long-standing friendship between China and the Gambia, while opening new avenues for cooperation in political leadership, development, youth empowerment, and initiatives focused on women. The International Department continues to promote dialogue, mutual understanding, and peaceful cooperation among political parties worldwide, contributing to international peace, common development, and shared prosperity. For QTV News from Beijing, China, I am Loliam Kamal.
Up next, we have international news. Over the past week, Senegal has been honoring the first of its former presidents to reach the age of 100. The celebrations, which included messages from former and current heads of state marking the centenary of Abdoulaye Wade, culminated in grand national events on the 4th and 5th of June. Adeta Rame has been following the celebrations, and this is his report.
Senegal has marked a historic milestone with nationwide celebrations honoring former President Abdoulaye Wade as he becomes the country's first former head of state to reach the age of 100. The two-day tribute, held under the patronage of President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, brought together political leaders, religious figures, academics, and ordinary citizens to celebrate a man whose political journey spans much of Senegal's modern history. At the Grand Théâtre National in Dakar, President Faye led the official ceremony, describing Wade as a living monument whose perseverance and commitment helped shape Senegal's democratic story. For many Senegalese, Wade remains the symbol of Sopi, meaning change in Wolof, the political movement that ended 4 decades of Socialist Party rule when he won the presidency in the year 2000. The celebrations continued with cultural performances featuring traditional communicators and popular artists. Music, poetry, and storytelling highlighted the former president's place in the national consciousness, reflecting traditions familiar on both sides of the Senegambia border. Shared languages such as Wolof, Fula, and Serer and Mandinka, together with strong family and cultural connections, mean many Gambians have followed the centenary celebrations with interest. On the second day, attention turned to the African Renaissance Monument, where scholars and statesmen examined Wade's intellectual, political, and economic legacy. President Wade served from 2000 to 2012 and is widely credited with major infrastructure developments and strengthening Senegal's tradition of democratic transfers of power. While his final years in office were marked by political controversies, speakers at the symposium focused on his enduring contribution to democratic governance and national development. As Senegalese celebrate a century of Abdoulaye Wade's life, the events have offered both reflections and recognition of a leader whose influence continues to shape public life in Senegal and resonates across the wider Senegambian region. For a generation of Senegalese, Abdoulaye Wade was the face of political change. 100 years after his birth, the nation has paused to honour a legacy that remains firmly woven into Senegal's democratic journey.
Vivez longtemps parmi nous, Monsieur le Président. Le Sénégal n'a pas fini d'apprendre de vous. Que Dieu vous garde en santé. Joyeux anniversaire. Jërëjëf Wade. Gàcce ngalaama. Je vous remercie.
For Qtv News, I am Ade Darami.
And before we end, here's a recap of the headlines. Mayor Malik Lowe of Banjul, accompanied by international donor partners, on Friday embarked on a site visit to key borehole projects in the West Coast region as part of activities marking the launch of our tripartite projects initiative. GK Partners, the implementing agency of the Migration and Sustainable Development in the Gambia project, held a press briefing on Saturday to provide updates on the implementation of the Diaspora Development Fund, a program designed to support Gambians living abroad in contributing to national development. Speaking at the Migration and Sustainable Development Gambia Phase 4 institutionalization briefing on Saturday, Professor Jibril Fall emphasized that the right to vote and be represented is a fundamental aspect of citizenship that should not be linked to a citizen's economic contribution. West African leaders, including from the Gambia, development partners, and private investors have wrapped up a major summit in Accra, Ghana, aimed at transforming the region's rice sector and reducing its dependence on costly imports. And in international news, over the past week, Senegal has been honoring the first of its former presidents to reach the age of 100. The celebrations, which included messages from former and current heads of state marking the centenary of Abdoulaye Wade, culminated in grand national events on the 4th and 5th of June. That's all for this bulletin. You can join us again tomorrow night for the week interview with Mahmoud Mboj and host Adedarame. Thanks for watching.